And we're back with the Team LoCoFit Roundtable. And this is the first time that we're actually recording on the new fancy setup. Well, It's not that fancy, but it is for us.
No, it's fancy for us.
This is definitely super fancy.
Yeah.
And we're actually filming it too. So on YouTube, it won't be like the shitty Zoom quality. Well, actually, it will be with Laurin because she doesn't live here. Boo. But
Yet.
Our
plan is to get her down here.
We're just gonna look up her when she finishes the internship. But in any case, when I was literally at the store, the guy's like, "So you're trying to be like Joe Rogan?" I'm like, "Okay, like a little, not yet,
baby steps."
Yeah, like a little. What's right below that? Then we'll move up eventually." Yeah. But in any case, I am joined today with Coach Karina, and like we've talked about before, this is the new format, so it's mostly going to be me and one of the other coaches. So I'm really excited about this. So we can kind of just dive into topics a little bit more with each individual person and kind of like an easier conversation. But we will still have our roundtable ones, just because I think it is cool to kind of have like 5 different perspectives on the same topic.
Totally.
But today we wanted to touch on a topic that is really something that comes up a lot with coaching, and it's really, really important, and it's actually being ready to commit to a diet and what all that entails. And this is, we could talk about the metabolic stuff, we could talk about you know kind of how your off season's been, etc., but it's really more about the mindset that we wanted to talk about today. And that's what we see that most people struggle with from transitioning from the off season or just not dieting period to like, hey, I'm going to start a diet. Because really most people they think they're really excited to diet,
right?
But then I think what a lot of times happens is people will romanticize things, and then they actually get to the diet and it's like 4 weeks in, they haven't really been adherent, they're not really making any progress. So I know that we obviously deal with clients in this kind of situation all the time. So like, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Most definitely. So I think one thing that is important for changing your mindset to get ready for a fat loss phase is to begin that mindset in the reverse diet or in the off season phase, right? So you can't start something that you absolutely have to do well in and have no wiggle room in if you haven't practiced it before. So those habits and that mindset come from practicing that before it's actually game time, before it's time to start a contest prep or a fat loss phase for your wedding, vacation, etc. And yeah, Laurin said it exactly how I would agree, is that a lot of people don't really understand what it could possibly take, and everybody romanticizes about losing body fat, and we always think about that end goal and how much we would absolutely love to be there. However, not a lot of people really understand like the work it takes to lose body fat, and that's so much harder than losing body fat and maintaining muscle mass at the same time, mind you, because losing water weight or just losing weight and not being able to maintain that muscle mass is a bit, I'm not saying it's easy, but our goal for most bodybuilders or physique athletes is to lose body fat and maintain muscle mass, and that is an art in itself, which is where coaching comes in, and it's really tough. So yeah, definitely agree with you in saying that a lot of people do romanticize fat loss and don't understand like what is actually coming and how rough it can be.
Yeah, and this is not to scare anybody away from dieting, and this is, as coaches, our goal is to say, hey, like what is the best way to approach a situation with a client? So for example, like we'll take a lifestyle client, and we can do 2 different aspects. We'll do lifestyle and then we'll do competition. So lifestyle client, a lot of times, hey, like I want to lose X amount of weight. And a lot of our clients don't even really set weight goals, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Like we're not really like pro pushing certain weight goals, but it's like, hey, I just want to like enter a deficit.
Get to a point where you feel like you look better and are more comfortable.
And a lot of times this is going to be several cycles for our clients, right? Like we do typically, like we'll do like a reverse cycle, then a diet cycle, reverse, diet, and then hopefully the whole point is that after several cycles of that, you're actually at a lower body weight and body fat that you're maintaining, and you're comfortably there. But when you are embarking on these deficits, even though it is a lifestyle diet, even though we're all about promoting flexibility, you still have to hit your shit. You still have to be in a deficit. No matter how flexible or not flexible you are with your approach, with your foods, your mindset, you still have to be in a deficit. So it's still going to be challenging, even if you have the best relationship with food in the world, even if you have the best off-season, like best diet flexibility, like you still have to remove calories, and you still have to be hungry, and you still have to feel those side effects. And it's going to be different for everybody as far as like how severe, right? And like that'll be like obviously the biggest distinguishing factor between lifestyle and competition prep.
Right.
But for somebody who is a lifestyle client who still, like, I know people will say all the time, like, oh, I just want to lose like 5 or 10 pounds. That's actually really hard.
Right. Of body fat.
Yeah.
That's hard. Yeah. Because like you said earlier, you could do a water cut and I could lose 5 pounds in like today if I did a water cut.
The last podcast we just did with me and Rai was actually on weight cuts. And it was about that. Like we had a client who, we did like a load and then we, loaded her and then had to drop her to obviously make weight. And it was like almost a 10-pound fluctuation, like in 3 days, which is exactly what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But that's like, who cares? You know what I mean? Right. And I think anybody listening to this is like going to know that. Right. But still, it's important if you guys are listening, whether you're, doing this yourself or you're helping other people. There's still a lot of people out there who think like, oh, just losing 5 or 10 pounds is so easy.
No, yeah. So I think especially for anyone who's going into any fat loss phase, even if you don't have to get very low, there's always going to be some extent of sacrifice. It doesn't matter if you're someone like Laurin said who has the best relationship with food. You're going to eventually get to a point where you're going to be hungry, you're going to be a bit more tired, you're not going to be able to make the same food choices out at restaurants that you used to, even if it is just lifestyle dieting. And just being prepared to make those sacrifices and knowing like, hey, this is temporary and this is what I have to do in order to reach my goal. That's totally okay. That's the mindset everyone needs to have. And I think that if you aren't mentally ready for that going into a fat loss phase, it's going to be so hard to change habits that you spent so many months, like burning into your brain and neuronal patterns into actually achieving your goals. And I think that's where I see a lot of people fall off track in fat loss phases, is because they were totally okay with, always loosely counting or just having things and not taking into account for them, or not practicing some sort of restraint, even though we do encourage a flexible mindset in dieting or any
still
sort
within a dietary restraint.
Correct. And I think it's always good to practice some sort of restraint instead of allowing yourself to always go off the rails.
And that was when you were saying that, I was like, oh, this is a perfect way to summarize it. Whenever you're dieting, or really whenever you're doing anything challenging, but let's, in this context, talk about dieting, you're going to have to say no.
Right.
And if you are not ready to say no to more things than not, you're not ready to diet. And then you're just going to be upset at yourself. And because the problem is people get to a place where maintaining is pretty easy.
Right.
And I call it roughly maintaining, because obviously everybody's always kind of going up and down, and that's fine. But if you're roughly maintaining, you're eating a good amount of food, and there's really like, people kind of forget when you're in that phase, like you don't really remember like what real hunger is. Like you might be hungry for lunch, but there's a difference of that versus like, I'm in a harsh calorie deficit hunger, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people who kind of forget that, okay, like I'm gonna have to say no, I'm gonna have to feel uncomfortable, and that really is what it comes down to. And that's even for lifestyle, right? And it's going to be about making those choices. So it's not about like when we say, hey, be flexible, that means, hey, it's the weekend, you can still go out to eat with your friends, but you're going to need to get a steak and steamed vegetables and maybe a glass of wine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or pick half a serving of carbs on the side.
Right.
You're not going to be able to get both, right? And if you want to say, you know what, I don't want to do that, then that's fine. Then don't do it. You know what I mean? But remember that this is temporary, and the goal is not to be dieting forever.
Right.
So if you have had a good off season and you have done things properly, you can say, hey, I'm going to really pinpoint this diet for the next 8 weeks or whatever it is that you've decided in your mind with your coach. Hey, 8, 12 weeks, whatever it is, I'm really going to dedicate everything to this, and I'm going to have to say no sometimes, and that's okay.
Right. And I think that with, that's super important that you mentioned that if you aren't ready to say no, well, first of all, like I think anyone before they start a fat loss phase, you need to have an honest conversation for yourself, like or with yourself. Are you ready to make those sacrifices? And then once you do, if you aren't ready to make those sacrifices and you try to do a fat loss phase anyway, like Laurin said, your fat loss phase is just going to take longer and longer and longer when it could be over in 8 to 10 weeks. And you can then begin a reverse diet where you're trying to maintain that lower body fat composition. And you're just simply hindering yourself from trying to get to a point where you are maintaining a composition that you are most comfortable in and able to do that, while being a bit more flexible eating out. But so I think that really stood out to me, you saying that it could be over quickly if you are sticking to the plan. And if you are sticking to the plan, you have to be ready to do that before jumping into it.
Exactly. So be ready to give all all of your effort and be ready to say no to things. And then, so that's for a lifestyle situation. Then, so say somebody is a competitor. So whether it's a physique competitor or a strength sport athlete or any kind of athletic endeavor, and that's obviously a strength sport is going to look a lot different than a physique sport as far as like the diet, but you still have to be on it, right? So that mindset of like, I'm going to do a competition is far different than just like, oh, I want to lose some weight and like get ready and feel better for this event.
Right.
So say like we'll take physique competition because that's who we deal mostly with, and that's really is the most extreme type of dieting that you could even think of ever, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And you're getting to very, very, very low levels of body fat that are just like not normal, not sustainable, and you're crossing a threshold that is like, okay, every day feels like total hot garbage. And we actually did a YouTube video on that about your prep, and we talked on one of the podcasts earlier here with Jill's long prep. I mean, all of us have done that. All of our clients go through that, and that is just the reality of prepping. But when you are in a competition prep, and we have a lot of clients who start preps and they're like, right now isn't a really good time because I have family stuff going on, or lots of travel, or this and that. And there's a difference of like, basically you have to sit down with the person and say, okay, like, we can figure out ways to make this work, but you have to want to make it work.
Right.
And if
there's never a good time to like start a prep,
no,
to be honest.
there's not.
Will always happen.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, well, right now I have nothing going on. No, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, there's literally always something going on. But if you find yourself half-assing the diet because you can't accommodate to all the things going on, then it's just not a good time to do it.
Right.
So if you're thinking about doing something that is as restrictive as a contest prep, under absolutely zero circumstances can you be in the mindset that it's like, oh, I'll just kind of, maybe fall off plan. And again, not to sound like we're these militant, crazy people, because obviously, again, we understand stuff, and we have clients who are like, hey, I have this thing going on this weekend, and we figure out how to handle the situation.
Oh, yeah.
But the little slip-ups and the little like, oh, I wanted to track here, but then I didn't. Hey, we got to cut that out.
Right.
Like, this is not the time for that.
Right.
Off season, when you're maintaining, way different. We have a lot more diet flexibility in general. We have a lot more habit flexibility in general, so that when you do diet, things are actually easier. But there does come a time and a place, particularly when you're getting close to that like threshold, and it's very different for everybody. But there's a certain kind of just body fat and weight that people cross over that it's like, wow, every single day.
It's a hurricane.
If you guys can't see the video, and you probably don't even know what we're doing.
She's doing drive-bys right now. This is what that's called.
So we're huge Crystalliners, like probably
like
too much. And so we, like, if you ever watch his videos, like the way he does stuff is just so funny. Anyways, we're gonna stop that because we are not comedians.
No.
And
God, no.
Definitely not. Obvious. I mean, I laugh at myself.
We try.
I'm not a comedian. I laugh at myself, but that might just be like me feeling bad
It'd be
for myself.
cringy at this point. We're gonna save you guys.
I'm Arthur Fleck. That would be me as a comedian. If anybody doesn't know, that was Joker in the Let's go. Anyways. When you have to describe a joke, it's not even. It's like so not funny. Yeah. Okay. In any case. What the fuck was I? I don't know. I was like, Joker. That's how I'm feeling right now. Okay.
Oh God, where were we?
It doesn't matter.
Squirrel brain. Anyways.
Okay.
Dieting contest prep.
Yes.
If you are, making sure that like circumstances. I actually wanted to go ahead. Now I'm remembering. I wanted to go ahead and pin off of that because it made me think of when we were at the Physique Summit in September, and Brian Whitaker was called to the stage for an award that I am so sorry. Physique Summit people, I cannot remember what the name of the award is, but
wasn't it like most inspirational person?
I think so, like bodybuilder or something like that. But one thing that I remember hearing him saying, I don't know if it was at the Physique Summit or in a podcast, is that, and something that I think makes him stand out and what is a good like mindset tip to take into a contest prep, is Brian Whitaker has been one of the best bodybuilders in the world simply because he optimizes every situation, no matter what the circumstance is. No matter, he has a family, 2 kids, and is a tenured professor. He can't train every day, but, he's a world champion. Simply because no matter what the circumstances were, he made it work with what he could, even if he couldn't train, or even if he couldn't, access all the food that he could. he didn't just throw in the towel, or he didn't half-ass anything.
And that's where that flexibility comes in.
Right.
Within the rigidity of prep. And I think that's what people just really don't, it's hard for people to understand that, because they're like, wait, you're saying be flexible but also be rigid?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But you have to have
there's
both.
A balance-ish kind. I mean, that's not even the right word.
I know.
But there's a fluctuation,
is.
of like, you have to be strict. However, like, you have to be able to deal and roll with the punches when, circumstances aren't perfect. And you have to continue to work through those. And I have quite a few clients who are prepping right now who are going through the same thing. They're like traveling and they have interviews and all that stuff, and they don't have a gym. They don't have access to a gym for 4 days. And you know what? All I say is that's okay, as long as you're getting your cardio, getting your food in. 4 days if you're not training, it's not like we're trying to build muscle at this point.
When you get back, we'll double up the training and all that.
Nothing has to be absolutely perfect for you to perform. Just perform to the best of your ability.
My last prep really taught me that. Like, I did.
Oh, you were all over the place,
dude. It was a rough year. You know what I mean? Like, we bought a house, we moved, traveled all over, spoke so many different things, and I was prepping for 9 months. And of course, whenever I say that, people are like, oh my God, the beginning was not that hard, but you still, even though food was higher, you're still as diligent, you know what I mean? And over those 9 months, there was a handful of times that I was maybe, I would say, off plan, but it was still accounted for. So like off plan, meaning like not super perfect, but like, hey, I factored in having a glass of wine. And
that was one of your best seasons.
Yeah,
that was the best you ever looked.
But I really realized that like, you can literally make it work anywhere. It's all about like, when I would travel, the first thing I would do, I would have food delivered for my con meals. I would go to the grocery store. I'd get my water. I'd have all my stuff with me. I'd literally pack everything. Hey, we got to get up at an awkward time and do cardio. It's fucking got to get done. I mean, I was traveling during peak weeks all the time for client events and things like that. It was really just like a no factor. Like, here's the plan. I have to get it done. Every single restaurant that you go to, you can order food that fits your diet. I promise. Is that optimal? No. Should you be packing all of your own food? But I have a lot of clients who, with the line of work that they do, they have to eat out, like with people that they're working with or whatever, right? You can still eat, get a piece of steamed fish, grilled fish, steak, whatever it might be, and you can make it work. And again, you're gonna have to say no. People say, hey, do you want a drink? No. Hey, do you want to get this? No, I can't right now. And that's okay. And you just explain to them, I'm working on this goal right now, I can't do it. And it really becomes like no issue. And I actually find sometimes that the traveling, almost the busyness made it easier, at least for me, because I think that a lot of times the hardest weeks were when there was really not a lot going on, because then you have time to think about
how hungry and tired you are, and the peanut butter jar in the pantry.
That's inevitable, you know what I mean? Like, and you can't make everybody else's life suck, because I can't be like, hey Ryan, don't have any tasty food in the house. Like, he's like, you chose this, I don't give a shit.
And you know how I was with that. And so my boyfriend Christopher literally eats a jar of peanut butter every 2 days, and so peanut butter is my Achilles heel. And so that was definitely an issue for me at the beginning of our prep.
But it's for a lot of people. There's always stuff that everybody struggles with, and it's going to be different for every single person, whether it is the travel, whether it is kids, whether it is work events, and you just have to figure out, hey, what are these issues? And that's where having a coach really, really helps kind of figure out, like, and pinball ideas, or I guess pinball works. Okay. New analogy. Not really new analogy, but new for me using it. Like, when you say something, you're like, why the fuck did I say that? That's what just happened there.
Yeah.
But anyways, you can pinball ideas off of your coach, and really basically just reverse engineer what to do, like what went wrong and how to make it better.
Certainly, I definitely want to go back to something that Laurin said that she quickly blew over, but I think is absolutely important for the mentality aspect that you need to have going into a fat loss phase. Is she basically said that when she was traveling, she had this no options mentality. So, and I recently used this with a client who was checking in, who's going through a fat loss phase for a wedding. Yay, super exciting. But when it came to eating out, she was having trouble, like just, not wanting to order specific things, and and
that's what it is. It's not that you can't order something that fits the plan.
Right.
You don't
and
want
it's
to.
Like that option is there for you, and it's now up to you to choose. And so something I told her, and Laurin has told me in the past with my fat loss phases and preps, is that, hey, like at this point we need to just simply have a no options mentality. When you go out to eat, if you're at a specific point in your prep, all you're allowed to have is, chicken and vegetables and maybe a side of rice, or just chicken and vegetables if you don't know, if like the amount of carbs is too highly variable for where you are in your prep at that point. but having that no options mentality and putting it on when you know you should can really help. And you know, that was really important for me at the beginning of our prep, when I was having a hard time not making choices that led me to make even worse choices with food, was to simply, okay, like, I know we love to preach balance and flexibility, but you know, peanut butter is not an option for me right now. Like, I break down every single time.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to have it now, no problem. But there
sometimes you have to remove that stressor.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. If it's not helping you at all, why have it? You know, and we can apply that to every single aspect of life. But especially when dieting, you know, make your environment conducive to your goal.
Exactly. So I think that we touched on some really important points here. And, you know, if you guys are thinking about entering a diet phase, whether you are a lifestyle client or a competitive athlete, you really have to understand what this entails and be ready to say no to things, be ready to take your time, have patience, and really just have that no options mentality. So we hope you guys really enjoyed the first new podcast on the fancy sound system. Watch it sound horrendous.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be really mad that we spent all this money, but not even just for that, but because I probably jacked up the recording.
But we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. So if
infancy.
If this is not good, sorry. And then I'm still gonna ask you to leave a 10-star review. Just kidding. But really, not kidding.
Still 10 stars.
Still 10 stars. If you guys have not subscribed and left a review, that would really, really help us out so that more people can listen to the podcast, hear about it. So it's on iTunes, Spotify, and then also on YouTube.
Subscribe, comment.
Yeah. What do people say? Like, smash the like button. You're like,
smash it.
Okay, no, don't do that. You can just like it once. It's
Be
fine.
a normal person.
Yeah, you don't have to smash it. If you guys have any questions, whether it's other podcasts, whether it's articles that we've written, coaching, anything like that, you can go to teamlocofit.com, apply for coaching, read articles that we've written. We have a ton of really good resources on there. And you can also contact us if you have any questions as well. Peace out.
Bye.
That was super awkward. Bye.